Now it's time for today's talk. In today's talk, we have a very special guest. Her name is Sonya, Davey, and the unique thing about her is that she is a high school student who teaches Sanskrit. So let's meet her. Hi Sonya, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Welcome here to the Imagination Studio. So tell us, how did you get started? You're teaching Sanskrit, how is that?
The teaching is going really good. I just started in April. I started learning Sanskrit when I was 11, when I first went to India. We got a professor there, and we've been learning ever since. We also have a professor here. Her name is Krishna Mukherjee. We're learning with her. And then around 3 years ago, I became associated with Sanskrit Bharati, and I started volunteering with them recently.
So what is the importance of Sanskrit to you?
For me, Sanskrit is all about the traditions that it holds. Sanskrit is the embodiment of Indian culture because without language, culture really doesn't exist. And the only language that truly holds all of Indian culture is Sanskrit. By learning Sanskrit, I feel like I have a better grasp of India itself.
Well, tradition and culture itself is a very big benefit of learning Sanskrit, but what other benefits do you see of learning Sanskrit, especially in today's age where Hindi and Gujarati are so much more popular, you could say?
Right. Well, first of all, nationally, Sanskrit is a great language, not just learning your own native language. Through your native language, you get a perspective, like I'm Gujarati, I get a perspective of Gujaratis. That's great, but through Sanskrit, I get a perspective of all of India, which I think India is almost missing right now. Right now, our national language is Hindi, but then at the same time, it's almost English. We've been learning English. But Sanskrit could be something that could be a truly Indian language that we all can learn and understand each other by.
Now, you went to India to get some training in Sanskrit, but for the people who are living in the U.S., how can they learn? What are the resources here?
Sanskrit Bharati has teachers everywhere around the country in America. These volunteers have classes that are going on for free or at extremely minimal rates. In the DC area, there's also Professor Krishna Mukherjee. She has a PhD in Sanskrit. She lives in Silver Spring and should be extremely willing to teach that. There's the Sanskrit Bharati. Right now, I'm holding classes at the Reston Library in Virginia, and then there's also classes at the Shiva Vishnu Temple.
Can Hindi speakers really understand Sanskrit if I'm asking you something in English, can you answer in Sanskrit and I'd understand that because I know Hindi pretty well?
The point of Sanskrit Bharati is for speaking Sanskrit, and they try to make it in a way that, yes, native people can understand. So, yes, you do have the ability
to. Okay, so here, if I ask you, how do you say, like, I am going to the grocery store? How would you say that in Sanskrit?
Aham apanam gacchami.
All right, and how would you say, my name is?
Mama namaha Sonya.
Now tell me, are there summer camps for Sanskrit learners?
There are. There's right now, 2 weeks ago, I taught at a camp called Shraddha. This was the 3rd year. It was at Arsha Vidya Gurukulam in Sellersburg, Pennsylvania. We've had it for 3 years there. We've had around 25 kids each year, and all of these kids have continued learning Sanskrit because the philosophy in that camp is youth teachers teaching other teenagers. So you have people of your own age teaching you. That really inspires the kids. If there's a kid my age that's learning, why can't I? And they all, after the camp, we got comments where they all said that we were really happy to have young teachers because we felt that it was an attainable goal that we could also reach. So those camps every year have really inspired kids to learn. They're around 1 week long, and they're residential camps. After that, these kids have gone home and they've found teachers, in their local teachers in their area, and they've continued. There's also a camp, Janavi, that's coming up. It's a family camp. It's going to be in Pennsylvania this year. It's during Labor Day weekend. You can obviously bring your whole family, including the kids. There's separate classes for the children and classes for adults. This is also the beginner and intermediate classes are focused on conversation. The ability to communicate with other people really makes the language something that is a modern language that we can use. And then in the advanced classes, there's Vyakaranam, there's the grammar of Sanskrit that's focused on.
I know there is a deep correlation between Sanskrit and Latin. So can you please explain that connection for us?
Yeah, sure. In Latin and Sanskrit, the grammar and the vocabulary are quite similar, especially the grammar. In Latin, there's 5 cases. There's a nominative, accusative, genitive, ablative, and the dative. And in Sanskrit, similarly, there's 7 vibhaktis, which are cases. So each word can be written in any of these cases, which makes both of these languages extremely specified in their grammar. Also, there's there's the plural, there's the two-person, and then there's the singular. So in Sanskrit, there's grammar for also talking about two people, not just like singular and plural as we have in English, which Latin also used to have. Not just that, that's the connection in the grammar, but also in the vocabulary, there's very similar words. Like for example, in Sanskrit, matri in Latin would be mater. In Sanskrit, pitri would be piter in Latin. So there's a similar vocabulary also. Both of the languages are Indo-European languages and are said to be derived from a Proto-Indo-European language, obviously a really long time ago. And from this Proto-Indo-European language, Sanskrit, Latin, and also Greek and a couple other languages have been derived. Now, from Sanskrit, most of the Indian languages have been derived. From Latin, there's the Romance languages, and from Greek, there's the other Greek languages. So, from these different languages, they all have a connection, which is the Proto-Indo-European language. So, all of their grammars and some of their vocabularies are similar.
So you have a little brother, Neil. Now tell us how he got interested in Sanskrit and stuff.
We both started learning Sanskrit when we were at the same time, when he was 9 and I was 12. Right now, he's really into math, and he learned recently in 6th grade about the Pythagorean theorem. But right now, he learned that Bodhayana, an Indian philosopher or mathematician, has also come up with the Pythagorean theorem, but this was even before Pythagoras did it. And there's a slok to prove it, and he would like to share that.
All right, well, let's listen to him then.
I am interested in how math is related to Sanskrit. If you ask a kid what the Pythagorean theorem is, he'd probably say a squared plus b squared equals c squared. But that kid would probably not know who Bodhayana is. He's the one who wrote this sloka in 600 BC. Let me read it. Dirgha chaturasrasyakshanaya rajju parshvamani tiryang mani cha yat prabhute kuruta stadubhayang karoti. This basically means that the diagonal of a rectangle squared would equal the sum of the sides squared together.
One final question. Where can people get information if they want to go to study sessions for Sanskrit or camps even?
There's the website where you guys can reach us at Sanskrit Bharati, www.sanskritbharati.org. There you can get information about anything that's happening, even locally, but also internationally in India, or nationally, like the camps that were held in Pennsylvania, or that are going to be held in Pennsylvania as well. If you are local and you want any classes or any information about that, you can call me at 240-715-2062.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Sonya.
you.
I really appreciate your time.
No problem.
And good luck with your Sanskrit learnings
Thank you.
and teaching.